Hello and welcome. I am Pranay Upadhyaya and you are watching World Today. US President Donald Trump signed an executive order releasing a fresh list of tariffs for at least 90 countries, with the exception of Canada, which has been levied with 35% tariffs and goes into effect from August 1st. The tariff for other nations will go on effect from August 7th. For more on President Donald Trump's tariff toolkit, watch this report.
The US has announced fresh tariffs on more than 90 countries, with President Donald Trump signing an executive order. Canada has been slapped by 35% tariff from August 1st, whereas tariff from other countries will come into effect from August 7th. With China still in the midst of negotiations, India is slapped by 25% along with an unspecified penalty for its defense and energy imports from Russia. Pakistan's tariff rate has been slashed from 29% to 19%, with the president announcing that US will work to develop Pakistan's massive oil reserves. Pakistan's largest refiner, Synergico, will import 1 million barrels of oil from Whitehall in October, the country's first ever purchase of US crude following a landmark trade deal. Pakistan's proven oil reserves are estimated at approximately 353.5 million barrels as of 2016, ranking it 52nd on the list of countries with petroleum in the world. This is just 0.021% of the global oil reserves. India, in contrast, which is the world's third largest crude oil consumer, has around 4.9 billion barrels of oil reserves, ranking among the top 25 globally. That is approximately 0.29% of the world's total oil reserves. Amid this sudden soft corner for Pakistan, what are India's options? Though India has said it will secure the interest of the country, an immediate retaliation is unlikely. Though maintaining trade relations between India and US is still on, India is expecting US trade team to visit India mid-August for further decision on bilateral trade agreement. During PM Modi's visit to the US in February, Trump had offered to sell F-35 jets to India. With the US being the world's largest arms seller, is President Trump looking at the trade deal with India to further its arms business to the Indian subcontinent? The Indian government is keen to keep the bilateral trade talks going on. According to sources, India plans to ramp up its natural gas purchases from the US and the increase of imports of communication equipment and gold.
We're also paving the way to ultimately provide India with the F-35 stealth fighters.
President Trump had also made a reference during the press conference to F-35 aircraft, and no formal acquisition process for a fifth-generation fighter has been initiated as yet at our end.
Though Trump has always called India a friend, his criticism of the country with the highest tariff in the world and the US's inability to do much business with India has found mention in all his tariff speeches. Moreover, Trump takes credit for de-escalating tensions between India and Pakistan, a claim clearly refuted by New Delhi. In yet another post on Truth Social, the US president called India and Russia's economies dead. What is to be seen is even as India continues to engage in bilateral talks and expands its imports from the US, will President Trump soften his stand for a country whom he called his friend? With Mahashweta Lala, Bureau Report, India Today.
And now to discuss President Donald Trump's tariff announcements in further detail, I am being joined by Ambassador Anjali Prasad, who served as India's former permanent representative to the World Trade Organization. Ambassador Prasad, welcome to World Today. And my first question to you would be, President Donald Trump and his tariff announcement has stirred the global trade order. How do you see these tariffs impacting India's trade relation with the United States, and how these announcements are going to challenge the global trade framework?
Thank you very much for having me on your show. Now, first of all, I must say that the imposition of these tariffs and so-called penalties is completely against the multilateral trade rules. I would say it is trade anarchy in a sense, because a large number of countries have been affected by this. So the United States seems to have thrown the multilateral trade rules to the winds. India and all these other countries are signatories to this treaty along with the United States. So I think this is a very irresponsible act on the part of the United States.
But Ambassador Prasad, given your experience, what strategic options should India explore to counter and adapt to these tariff policies?
Look, there can be a few options that we can exercise depending on what attitude we want to adopt towards this action. Firstly, if we want to be tough, then we should retaliate, announce counter tariffs on their sensitive exports to India. We should select these carefully so that they don't harm us, because we buy certain products which are important for us. So we will have to be a bit smart in what we do. So this is an immediate kind of tough reaction that we can give. The second thing, which is the done thing in the WTO, is to talk to your like-minded trade partners. Talk to them, all those who are affected by this, and try and find out how they are reading this whole situation. If they all feel that this is a complete destruction, literally, of the multilateral trading system, an insult to it, I would say, then
But
a few countries together can go in dispute to the WTO against the American action, and because there is always strength in numbers.
you're absolutely right, Ambassador Prasad, but we have already taken the issue of steel to World Trade Organization. Previously also, during President Donald Trump's previous tenure, we took that issue. How can we leverage our position in World Trade Organization vis-a-vis these US tariffs? Do we have any leeway there?
This is exactly what I'm trying to tell you. We have to first talk to our our other trading partners who are affected by a similar action of the United States. And if all of us are on the same page, we want to retain the sanctity of this trading system, or do we want to destroy it? We all have to decide together. And if we value the trading system, the multilateral trading system, then we must go and dispute together against the United States.
But ma'am, so far President Donald Trump has only shown disregard as far as the multilateral trade framework.
Yes, absolutely, he has. So this is exactly what I'm saying. Aren't we sovereign countries? Should we accept whatever President Trump is doing? So we are equal stakeholders in the multilateral trading system.
True.
And therefore, we have to decide. This is a decision we need to take.
Ambassador Prasad, just a while ago, you mentioned about the retaliatory options India have. What are the options India has in terms of the retaliatory taxes or tariffs we can impose?
Look, rightly speaking, you can't retaliate unless a dispute comes to the conclusion that some wrong has been inflicted on you, and then they have certain steps which you can take. If those steps are not taken by the country that has lost the dispute, then you can retaliate. But what I'm saying now is an action that we would be taking in effect announcing that, okay, fine, you are doing this, then we will also do this. But this is, according to the rules, not the right way to do it.
Absolutely, this is not the right way to do it. But
Yeah.
Ambassador Prasad, what advice would you like to give to Indian businessmen to navigate this new tariff landscape, and what should they prioritize to stay competitive? Because India's tariff competitiveness is at stake right now.
Yeah, see, before that, I want to talk about a third option that we should exercise, in fact, and that is in our hands to do. We should walk away from these bilateral trade talks. We should tell the United States that you have gone ahead and done this while we were still talking. And if you have preempted the whole negotiation, then we walk away. And we pack up and walk away. That is our third, and to my mind, the best option. It is in our hands. We should do it. And now, to come to your point about exports, yes, maybe in the short and medium term, these industries would get affected. However, we have a number of other FTAs. We have other trading partners, and our exporters need to quickly explore certain other markets, including these FTAs that we have concluded. Wherever they can get access, we should try and get access and diversify our markets instead of overtly relying on the US and getting arm twisted by them.
Ambassador Prasad, help me understand this issue as well, that, if we accept this 25% tariff, will it also impact the other nations as well, the entire tariff regime which we exercise?
See, it's not a question of whether we'll accept it or not accept it. If you say we will accept it, I mean, they have decided to do it. Now they've issued the notification,
yes.
right? And they've done it on a range of countries. So all of them are getting affected, just like we are. So indeed, the entire negotiated tariff schedule of the WTO has gone haywire. There is a schedule in the WTO,
yes,
which has thousands of tariff lines, and there are bound rates and applied rates, and all of that has been thrown to the winds now. So that is why I'm calling it trade anarchy.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Prasad, for joining us in this show and helping our viewers to understand the complexity and what options India can exercise in these challenging times of tariff announcement by President Donald Trump. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And now moving on to another big story, because President Donald Trump, on one side, he is imposing tariffs on other countries, but on the other side, he is also on an expansionist move to build another building in his White House. The White House has announced that President Donald Trump has ordered construction of a $200 million ballroom on the east part of the mansion, and the construction will begin in September. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said that the East Wing of the White House will be modernized as part of the project, and the East Wing staffers, including the aides of First Lady Melania Trump, will be temporarily reallocated. The project will be paid by Trump and other donors, and the move comes after repeated promises by President Donald Trump to build a beautiful ballroom at the White House. Back in 2016, he had offered to fund a $100 million ballroom during Barack Obama's term, but the proposal was turned down. This will mark the first structural change to the executive mansion itself since the addition of the Truman balcony in 1948.
We are proud to announce that the construction of the new White House ballroom will begin. President Trump has expressed his commitment to solving this problem on behalf of future administrations and the American people. In recent weeks, President Trump has held several meetings with members of the White House staff the National Park Service, the White House Military Office, and the United States Secret Service to discuss design features and planning. President Trump has chosen McCreary Architects as the lead architect, which is well known for their classical architectural design and based right here in our nation's capital. The construction team will be headed by Clark Construction, and the engineering team will be led by AECOM. The project will begin in September 2025, and it is expected to be completed long before the end of President Trump's term. President Trump and other donors have generously committed to donating the funds necessary to build this approximately $200 million structure. President Trump is a builder at heart and has an extraordinary eye for detail.
And after Donald Trump, now let's talk about Elon Musk. Because billionaire Elon Musk gave $15 million to Republican allies before announcing his own America party? This question is being asked because reports are suggesting so. According to reports, the Musk donated a total of around $15 million in June to super PACs favoring President Donald Trump and congressional Republicans ahead of the next year's midterm election. The donations of $5 million each to the Senate Leadership Fund and the Congressional Leadership Fund came in June 27. Amid Musk's bitter feud with President Donald Trump over the federal spending legislation, and just days before, the world's richest man declared that he would be forming his own political party. The Tesla CEO emerged as the largest individual contributor to each of these congressional super PACs separately. Campaign reports with the Federal Election Commission shows that Musk this year plowed more than $45 million to his own money into America PAC, the super PAC he oversees, as he worked unsuccessfully to shape the outcome of the Wisconsin Supreme Court race. In 2024 election, Elon Musk spent more than $290 million to help elect President Donald Trump and his favored congressional candidates. He served as a top White House advisor and the leader of the cost-cutting Department of Government Efficiency for several months this year before stepping from government and work to focus on his companies. At the time, he had also signaled that he might pull back from his political spending. Former US President Joe Biden, while addressing the National Bar Association's 100th Annual Award Gala in Chicago on July 31st, slammed US President Donald Trump and his administration. He warned that the civil rights, the judiciary, and marginalized communities now facing existential threat under the Trump administration. During his address, former President Joe Biden referred to Trump as "this guy, we have a president," and called on attendees to uphold the justice and Constitution. He further said that the U.S. is under pressure and from the administration, and he added that the law firms are bending to bullies instead of staying rooted in justice for the law, including some of the largest newspapers he indicated about. And former President Biden said that these are the dark days, and he called on attendees to fight for the future. Let's listen in.
Judges matter. Courts matter. The law matters. And the Constitution matters. I think a lot of Americans are starting to realize that under the pressure we're under now with this guy we have as president. Oh, get ready, folks. This is just starting. These are dark days. But you're all here for the same reason. I left that prestigious law firm and the public defender's office to go to the defender's office years ago. It's because our future is literally on the line. We must be unapologetic of fighting for the future.
President Donald Trump's special envoy for the Middle East became the first high-profile U.S. official to visit Gaza since the war began, touring a U.S.-backed aid organization that the United Nations says is partly to be blamed for deadly condition in the enclave. Take a look at this report.
Amid ongoing humanitarian crisis in Gaza, U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee traveled to Gaza to inspect the joint U.S. and Israel-backed aid distribution system. The visit comes as starvation worsens across Gaza and as Witkoff works to finalize a plan aimed at accelerating aid deliveries. Following the visit, Witkoff shared a statement on social media X, and I quote, "At POTUS's direction, USA Ambassador to Israel and I met yesterday with Israeli officials to discuss the humanitarian situation in Gaza. Today, we spent over 5 hours inside Gaza, level setting the facts on the ground, assessing conditions, and meeting with the Gaza Humanitarian Aid and other agencies. The purpose of the visit was to give POTUS a clear understanding of the humanitarian situation and help craft a plan to deliver food and medical aid to people of Gaza." Their visit follows a series of tragic incidents in which thousands of Palestinians were reportedly killed while trying to access food at distribution centers. Reactions to Witkoff's visit were mixed. While some Palestinians expressed cautious hope that his presence could bring change, others remain skeptical.
Hopefully, it will be an act of hope for the Palestinian people. And Mr. Witkoff looks at the injustice that is happening to the people. The Palestinian people are starving, they are being killed, facing genocide. He should look and remove this historical injustice on us.
He should look at our situation. Our children are dying of hunger. We can't sleep from fear. What is he coming to do? I still don't understand what is he coming here to do. Did he come here to give us food? Even the American aid, what they call American, we haven't seen it. We want the war to stop. We don't want these visits just to bring us food that we don't even receive.
Johan Waddeful visited a Palestinian Christian village in the Israel-occupied West Bank and said that Israel must stop violent attacks on Palestinians in the West Bank. He also held talks with his Israeli counterpart, Gideon Sa'ar, on Thursday in Jerusalem and had condemned the catastrophic humanitarian situation in Gaza. On the other hand, France airdropped 40 tons of humanitarian aid to Gaza and called on Israel to allow full access for relief efforts. French officials warned that the enclave is on the brink of famine due to Israel's blockade of aid. Earlier, a global hunger monitor warned that famine conditions are taking hold in Gaza. Malnutrition is surging and children under 5 are dying from hunger-related causes. The UN estimates that Israeli forces have killed over 1,000 people since May, most of them near militarized food distribution sites operated by Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. However, the foundation, which contracts a US logistics firm led by a former CIA officer and staffed with armed US veterans, denies any deadly incidents have occurred at its sites. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump weighed in on the crisis, calling the situation in Gaza terrible.
Oh, it's terrible what's occurring there, yeah. It's a terrible thing. People are very hungry. You know, the United States gave $60 million for food, and it's a shame because nobody, I don't see the results of it. I just wanted the people to get fed, and we're helping out financially with that situation. It's a terrible situation.
With the humanitarian crisis worsening and famine conditions looming in Gaza, all eyes are now on Israel to see how they respond and whether any meaningful steps will be taken to improve the situation in the war-torn Palestinian territory. With Neha Kumari, Bureau Report, India Today.
And now moving on to political developments in Pakistan. A Pakistani anti-terrorism court on July 31st sentenced more than 100 members of jailed ex-Prime Minister Imran Khan's party, Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, on terms of charges related to riots that targeted military sites in 2023. 58 of the defendants, who included parliamentarians and senior officials, were sentenced to 10 years in prison, and the rest were given sentences ranging from 1 to 3 years. The accused include Umar Ayub Khan and Shibli Faraz, the leader of Imran Khan's opposition Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf party, in the lower and upper houses of the parliament respectively. Imran Khan, who has been in prison since 2023, he is facing charges of corruption, land fraud and disclosure of official secrets, is being tried separately on similar charges related to riots. The government accused him and other leaders inciting the May 9, 2023 protest, during which demonstrators attacked military and government buildings, including the army headquarters in Rawalpindi. Khan's arrest had prompted the countrywide violent protest. Meanwhile, the PTI party said that they will challenge the verdict. The party is also planning a new protest starting on August 5th to mark the second anniversary of Imran Khan's jailing and to demand his release. Now let's have a look on what else is making news across the globe in World at a Glance.
Russian President Vladimir Putin said the first batch of mass-produced Oreshnik ballistic missile systems had been delivered to the Russian army. Putin, who was talking alongside Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko during their traditional visit to Valum Island, not far from St. Petersburg, said that Russian and Belarus military experts have been preparing positions for Oreshnik systems in Belarus to be deployed there by the end of the year. The Russian president also said his forces were advancing along the entire front line in Ukraine despite the West's desire to halt its offensive. Poland signed a second multi-billion-dollar deal with South Korean industrial and defense group Hyundai Rotem for the supply of battle tanks, as Poland and NATO allies look to beef up their defense following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Poland, which borders Ukraine, Russia and Belarus, has allocated 4.7% of gross domestic product to boosting its armed forces in 2025, with a pledge to increase to 5% in 2026. No value was given for the new contract, but in early July, Hyundai Rotem said in a regulatory filing it was worth $6.5 billion. The leaders of Turkey, Italy and Libya held a trilateral meeting in Istanbul. Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni and Libya's international recognized Prime Minister were expected to discuss issues regarding the Mediterranean region, including strengthening partnerships in the energy and oil sector as well as migration. Thailand's army brought military attachés from 23 countries as well as ambassadors from 11 countries to show the damages in various civilian places as a result of Cambodians' shelling on July 24. Thai army spokesperson said the tour, which includes a damaged local health clinic, a charred convenience store at a gas station and a school, were aimed at showing the truth to the international community.
That's all for this edition of World Today. For more international stories, do log on to India Today Global on YouTube. And thank you. Good night.